guys, gals, and non-binary pals? It's DMG, and welcome back to WoT Blitz. And today I have a series called Back to Basics for you. This will be the first video in the series, and we will just be going over the settings. The point of these videos is to help you improve your win rate without you actually really learning anything tactically, right? These are just really basic, flip of a switch kind of things that could help you win a lot. And like I said, today we're just going to be going through the settings. So without further ado, let's begin. So in first, just graphics quality. You guys can really set these to what you like. I like to have the graphics on the high quality. I know lots of unis prefer to put them on the low quality actually, because it doesn't really affect your gameplay. But having them on low versus high gives you a better FPS rate, and it helps you, I guess, connect shots better. I don't know, maybe my stats would be higher if I had it on low, but I've never put them on low, but I guess I really haven't had a problem with high, and I kind of do like the look of better graphics, I guess. It's just very aesthetically pleasing. Effects quality, medium. I don't have a iPad Air 2, like I only have the iPad Air 1, so I don't have access to certain functions. Draw distance, fog. I keep these all on high. I haven't really touched them. Frames per second is at 60. Camouflage, this one's kind of important for me. I'd rather display it for all tanks so I can see who is running camouflage, excuse me, and who isn't. This helps me discern, even if it's quite a minuscule difference in your ability to spot someone, it lets me know who has camo and who doesn't, and what that means in terms of, how well they will be able to conceal themselves. I know that's very minute. If you really want to turn it off, I guess you can, but it may come in handy to have it on for all players. I know some of you don't like the way the camouflage looks on some tanks, and that's okay. Some of them are quite ugly, to be honest with you, but I keep it on for all tanks as it does give me some tactical information about the spotting or view range capabilities, or just camouflage capabilities, and playing into that whole view range mechanic for the other team. Floor quality, I think that was on low already. Oh, I can't even put it on medium or high, so I'll have it on the highest setting possible, I guess. A big one for me is turning grass off in sniper mode. This allows you, when you go and press the binoculars button or the scope in button, right, you don't see like a bunch of grass. If you're looking over a ridge, it'll just kind of get rid of the grass, so you'll be able to fire better at weak points on other tanks without having the grass impair your field of view. And this is probably like one of the most important things, turning grass off in sniper mode. That's one that I fully recommend. If you're in sniper mode and you're looking at another tank, right? I really doubt you're looking at the grass. So I would just turn that off. It's just kind of in the way, and it's not really necessary, right? HD textures, sure. Shadows, sure. I'm sure you could turn shadows off, and it would be the same. I don't think, I've looked at someone's shadow before and say, oh, they're spotted. The spotting mechanics in this game don't really require you to look for shadows. It's not like Call of Duty or something like that, right? So, HD sound, sure. Sound quality affects game performance, so if you're struggling with FPS, again, I would say turn that off. New render, I don't even really know what that means. I'm not a computer science or game developer or something like that. I just play the game, so I just leave that on. I don't really know what it means. Over to controls, in the touch controls editor, this is important right here. As you can see, the most important thing is to have this joystick in the corner as much as possible, while having it big enough so that you can easily reach it with your thumb. I hate it when people try and reach their thumb like all the way into the middle of their device, and it makes it quite difficult. I keep it in the corner so my thumbs don't impair my field of view. This may be different for people that play on phones. I play on an iPad, so just keep that in mind when playing. Not when playing, but when setting up your controls. Keep the icon size at 107%. You can set it to whatever you like. I just find that 107 for me is the most comfortable. It's what I set it at, kind of, and I've just gone from there and learned to work with it. Like I said, it doesn't have to be 100%, 107. It doesn't have to be that. It's just whatever you're comfortable with, really. Left-handed, I'm not left-handed, so I turn that off. I assume for all of you that are left-handed, you guys will have that on. Flip consumables, no, don't really need to do that. Second fire button, I never use the second fire button, and it's really just a strain on my field of vision in the game. I like to be able to see as much of the game as possible, so I don't worry about missing something. Oh, also, it's like if you have the second fire button on, I would hate to have you accidentally hit the second fire button and fire off a round that may end up costing you the game, right? So turning it off just kind of removes that possibility of a terrible accident out of the way. Lookout area, I know some people really like this. I turn it off. It's not really that important for me. I look at the mini-map sometimes, but also I play tanks that have decently strong turrets or not a turret at all. And what this means is that if I play it with a turret that isn't strong at all, right, and I'm looking around, they're going to pen you either way, right? No amount of using that lookout area is going to help you, and it's just more buttons that you could accidentally press. You want to keep it simple. Your lookout area isn't all that important, and if you have like a strong turret, like a T-62A, right, by looking around quickly, by like turning the camera around really quickly and just being able to get a quick glimpse, your turret does wiggle, and it actually creates a more difficult pen. Take that for what it may be. That may not make a lot of sense. So if you prefer the lookout area, please use it. I personally don't use it. I don't find it to be all that helpful. Camera sensitivity 115, joystick at 127. These are really just what you want to set them at, whatever you feel comfortable with. I prefer to have slightly higher than average. It just feels a little bit more responsive for me without being oversensitive, right? I know, what was it, in Call of Duty, people would like to have the sensitivity on like 9, which is like extreme, right? And I couldn't do that, right? It's just like too much. You'd barely touch it and it would just go, your camera would go flying, right? Props if you've played that game and understand that reference, but I can't do that whole, quickly spin around and quick scope and all that crap in Call of Duty. Back to tanks. Dynamic joystick, I don't really know what that is. I just leave it off. Don't want it, screwing up something that I have going for me. Ammo bar remains in the expanded state. Now, I know some of you have asked me about this, so like, why don't you keep your ammo bar out? You would actually be able to switch your ammo a little better. And while I do agree, like I said, I like to keep my field of vision as uncluttered as possible, so the ammo bar really isn't worth it for me. Eventually, if you look at my gameplay, I'm changing ammo without even really looking at it, or I'll just take one quick glimpse just to make sure I hit the button, and then I'll just press the other ammo, and then it'll lock it in for me. Um, I do think that, like I said, I do think having the ammo bar out for some of you may be helpful. I just don't find it as helpful. I've learned the technical skill, I guess the muscle memory, knowing where the buttons are, just being able to press them. I've just gotten really comfortable with the way the controls are, and when you learn to switch ammo really quickly using this way, you'll just have a less cluttered view, and you won't accidentally switch your ammo when you don't want to, because it requires two quick taps. But in the grand scheme of things, if you're switching ammo, right, um, you're most likely on a reload, so it's not like you're going to be firing uh, right as you switch. So having that one less button tap, I wouldn't say is all that worth it. Let's see. That's all for that. Markers. You guys can set these to what you want. This is just how I set it up. I don't have anything on the destroyed. I figure it's just kind of pointless to have it on the destroyed. Not really worth it. Friendlies, I guess the only difference is that it doesn't show the name of the tank. I mean, you can turn it on if you want. It doesn't really matter, honestly. Like I said, this is just purely personal preference for you. Other language is in English. Something that I do want to suggest to Wargaming is that to have the national crew voices, because sometimes I like to switch it up to German or Russian or Chinese, and I actually do have basic proficiency in Chinese. I haven't spoken in a long time, but it's kind of cool just to try and like listen to what they're saying and just try and translate the best I can. However, that's beside the point. So set language, English, volume, I mean, whatever you want to put it at. I disable the push notifications because I would hate to have notifications pop up when I'm playing. Sometimes it's kind of dumb when a notification pops up and you may accidentally press it, right? And something goes wrong with the game. So, like I said, this is my loadout, I would say, is all about keeping it simple. The attack marker I have as a ray instead of radial. While I was perfectly fine with the radial at first. What's important about the ray is that if you bounce a shot, it'll show how much damage you bounced, and then you can use that information to figure out what tank has fired at you. If you know the alpha of each gun, right? And that's just something that you'll learn with experience. Minimap I have on. Friend request, clan invites to training rooms. That's really your personal preference. I just have them on. The rangefinder, I don't really use it all that much. I mean, it can be helpful in some situations, but for me, I do my spotting and view range by feel. I don't say, oh, 300. I mean, sure, I use like the raw stats and saying, oh, the Patton has X amount of view range, but I know it's tied with the STB, right? I couldn't actually tell you right off the top of my head how much view range that a tank has, but I know relatively which tanks have higher view range than each other, so I can say, I'll be able to outspot X tank because I'm in the Patton, or I'll be able to outspot the E100 because I'm in the Object 140, right? So that's how I usually use my view range mechanics. Now the rangefinder might be helpful for you. It does help sometimes if you're in voice communication, and what I mean by voice communication is that you want to have the rangefinder so that when you're in a competitive tournament, you'll be able to say, I want to do this, I'm X and X meters away from you, stuff like that. I mean, keep the rangefinder on, it could be helpful, but I just don't really use it all that much. Skill and equipment indication, I just like to have that on. Could be helpful to let you know that something is activated, just gives you more information. Supremacy mode, this is an important one. A lot of you people like to turn Supremacy Mode off, and I used to be this way too. I used to only play Encounter, and while I still do believe that Encounter really grounds your technical skills really well, and what I mean by that is that there's no real capping bases in Encounter, right? I mean, sure, there's a neutral base that everyone can try and cap, but there's a certain skill in being able to squeeze the life out of your opponent by taking all their hit points rather than just running around capping bases. However, Supremacy Mode does print easier masteries as capping bases or resetting bases or holding bases. They do give experience points, and that cannot be denied. So Supremacy Mode does give a different flavor to the game, and at first I hated it, but after a while, I wanted the spare parts once Supremacy missions, really started becoming popular. So I just left it on, and I've learned to adjust to it. Not to mention, Supremacy Mode seems to be the way of the competitive scene now. Everything is done in Supremacy. So it's good to have a nice mix of both. It keeps you sharp and on your toes for being able to squeeze the life out of your opponent and being able to, I guess, tactically play and use bases and momentum to your advantage. I'm sorry if any of these words sound muffled to you. I do have the flu right now, so it's quite annoying. Reload timer, I have it on. It is helpful just to know when you're going to get your next shot. Personally, the other reload timer where it was just going around in a circle, like the little dots filling up in the reticle, that's perfectly fine too. But I mean, I don't know. It can be useful, I guess, if you're that into counting seconds. And if you're trying to get better and if it works for you, definitely turn the reload timer on. Movement direction indicator. Yeah, okay, I can see it. I think that's the little tank at the bottom of your screen, where it shows like how you're driving, and I think that's helpful because it allows you to be able to see exactly what your movements are. It helps when you're practicing, let's say, just by yourself in a training room, right? Just backing up, just going around corners and just making sure your direction movement is correct. It really helps. Same control mode. I don't know why I turned this on. I used to have it off, but I think I turned this on because I had the what is it? The artillery. The T-49 artillery, right? When people were just shooting nukes up into the sky and turning on their PC auto aim and then raining down death. I mean, sure, it wasn't all that awful for me, but it did get annoying when you constantly get put in games with people who are abusing that mechanic. So I just turned it on, and I guess I never really turned it off. There are arguments saying that people who use the PC have better access to auto aim. I'm not really sure how true that is. I've never played PC before. Maybe some of you guys in the comment section can elaborate for those of you who do play on PC. I know that if I probably tried PC, I wouldn't be or the PC controls, I wouldn't be very good at it. I'm just very used to the iPad. And like I said, the way the competitive scene is going, they do not allow PC players to compete, as Wargaming does believe it provides a competitive advantage. So, same control mode I leave on, I guess. I've just never really bothered to turn it off. What you choose to do with that now, I guess that's on you. It's just, I mainly did it for the T-49 artillery. Like I said, just didn't want to deal with that. And that is essentially the settings. I know this video may have bored some of you, but it may have helped some of you as well. May have taught you like a small little trick that you can use that will help you win more, I guess. Like I said, my settings loadout is just to keep it really simple and to have an uncluttered field of view. I really don't like having a bunch of buttons that I have to worry about, not pressing at the wrong time, right? So, like I said, keep it simple, keep it uncluttered, and you should be okay. I know that there are different opinions on how to load out your settings, but this is just the way I do it. I'm sure that there are other unis who do it differently and it still works just as well, but this is just my take on it. So if you really enjoyed that content, please hit that like button and subscribe. And if you didn't, please leave your constructive criticism in the comments. As always, I really appreciated the opportunity to share my passion with you today, and I hope to see you next time.